Howdy, I'm going to do a review on this Newspray.com. I figured I'd put this out there, post it on my channel. I'm not sure it's really survival related, but maybe it's business survival or just my opinion on, I don't know about fair business practices, but honest business practices or straight up business. I heard about this Newspray. Go to Newspray.com. They paint your house one time, good deal, never have to paint your house again, guarantee it, drops your energy cost, seals out heat and cold, reflective material, reflects UVs, it's cooler. I mean, sound like a great product. So I call them and I say, can I get a quote on, about what it does? Oh, we can't give you one over the phone. I said, well, can't you give me a square footage, kind of like how much you charge per square foot? And then I can figure out, no, we can't do that because there's too many, we have to see if there's any repairs, and we have to see if this, and we might have to do this, and so we have to come out there and we have to have somebody come out and give you an estimate. Well, right away I kind of got the hair on the back of my neck stood up, and I kind of got, this sounds like a high pressure deal. Why can't they give me a quote? Why can't they tell me how much something costs for other people? So I looked around the internet, I did some searches on how much this costs. I couldn't find anything. It was like, thought somebody was coming up. It was like nobody knows what this thing costs. So I was like, look, if you can't give me a cost or something, you can't tell me how much a house. I said, I can tell you the square footage. You can give me some sort of estimate, just a roundabout figure. I says, I don't want to waste your time, mine. If you're going to come out here and try to sell me something that costs $20,000 to paint my house, why waste your time and mine? Oh, we can't do it. We have to send somebody out. So I was turned off. I said, screw it. A few months went by, I heard a few more commercials, thought about it, looked at my house, said it needs to be painted. Let me give these guys a call. What the hell, I'll let them come out, give me an estimate, then I'll know what they're doing it. Man, let me tell you. They give you this big brochure, it's called Cool Wall System. Guy comes out with a card. Nice guy. I'm not cracking on the guy, I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I thought he was a nice guy. But the whole quote process to me is a high pressure sales tactic, like if you went in to buy a car. You just can't go in and buy a car, see a sticker price. There's all this haggling, and you got to call let me go check with my boss. If you've ever bought a car, you go through all that. Well, that's what getting this quote was like. The guy comes out, he gets out of the car, I let him know right as soon as he steps out of the car. I said, look, I tried to get an estimate over the phone. You see my house. I said, I kind of want to know a roundabout figure on how much it's going to cost. And I said, if you're going to come out here and give me some $20,000 quote to paint my house, I said, I don't want to waste your time or mine. And he looks at the house and he goes, well, for this size house and looking at what I see, we're going to be pretty close to $20,000. I mean, he goes, I'll tell you what, let me take some measurements and then we'll sit down at the table and talk about it. All right, well, okay, great. So I'm feeding the horse, doing my stuff. He's out here measuring. He does his thing. We come in at the table. I'll fix him some coffee. We BS. We do what's called bonding. We start talking about things that are of same interest. So he sets out this big tray. So I'm just letting you know what's going to happen if you call Newspray to have him come out to your house. Plan for a couple hours. Plan for this big demonstration and each step. And he's going to pull it. If you ever seen somebody trying to sell a Kirby vacuum cleaner at your front door, they want to charge you $1,500 for a vacuum cleaner or $3,000, whatever Kirby's cost. They used to go door to door, and once they got in your house, they were vacuuming in one room, and they were pulling out filters, and they were vacuuming your mattress and showing how much your vacuum cleaner. And there was all this sales stuff to try to sell you and get in your house, and then it was a pressure deal. Well, we start out this amount, we try to get you to go lower. So after 2 hours of watching an aspirin dissolve, looking at 8 different jars of all their chemicals, explaining what each chemical does, feeling the rubber, pulling out what it looks like on this wood, what it looks out here, and looking at a contract with 200 options about checking wood trim, checking this, filling, caulking. After all this 2 hours, I'm just like, can we get to the price? I gotta be put through all this to get to a price. So he goes, okay, well, do you like the product? Yeah, I like the product, or I wouldn't have called you. But do you think it's a good product from what I showed? I said, it sounds like a great product. He goes, okay, so there's no other question. I mean, the guy did a great job at following the script to try and connect with me and to inform me and to waste my time and to cause me to invest a lot of time to come out. Where's that card? Paint my house. If you look at my videos, you can see how much. He told me my house was 35 square feet, which he said a square foot is 100 square foot of painting surface. So I have 3,500, I guess, square foot of painting surface. $25,000 to get my house painted. Now look, when I was like, "Are you wasted? You come out here with a third of what my house costs almost to paint my house." Well, you know, I explained, but hang on. That's if you call us later. Because I'm here now, and because I can give you a discount if we schedule it now because of scheduling, and I don't have to send somebody back, and we're going to knock off this percentage, and then we're down to this. So then it was down to $2,100. And I was like, look, maybe I'll just get this west wall done because that's the heat wall. And since this stuff's supposed to repel heat, ultraviolet, seal out the cold, maybe I'll just get one wall done, you know? If I can get the one wall done, maybe $1,500, $2,000, maybe it'll be worth it and I'll like it. $5,000 for one side of my house painted. $5,600. So I'm like, dude, when you got out of the car, I told you 20 grand was like, I wasn't paying 20 grand. You come out, well, okay, well, I got you down to 21, and, you know, and I was like, so, you know, I played the vet card. I go, hey, can I get a vet? Do you give a discount for vets? And he goes, oh, we may have, you know, we may be able to work, and, you know, and are you going to finance? Are you going to pay cash? And then we start getting in all these different tools about how we can lower the price, and, you know, put a sign on your door. Is there any neighbors that you might be able to talk into it? And can you give us a letter of recommendation? You know, if we do all this, then maybe we can get the price lower. And I'm just like, really? So I said, look, guy, I said, I'd probably, if you could get closer to 15, I said, I might be willing to pay 15 and never have to paint my house again and to have a good product. Oh, I don't think I can go that low. Let me call my boss. Gets on the phone, you know, I told him that, yeah. He goes, yeah, that's what I told him, we're losing money. Yeah, you know, I mean, it's that cost, and yeah, I don't think, okay, let me call you back. Hangs up the phone, comes back, you know, 18, you know, from 21, it was what, finally, after all this haggling and all this waste of time, it's like, look, dude, if you can get to 15, I would probably do it, and that was even more than I was willing to pay. But I was like, well, maybe, you know, for this product, if it works and if it's good as they say it is, and I'll never have to paint my house again, you know, maybe if I painted my house every 5 to 7, you know, he's going to tell you paint your house every 5 years, you got to repaint, it costs $5,000, you know, you're going to spend this amount of money in 5 paintings, so this is going to be lifetime, and, you know, guy did a great job at selling the company. Great company. We paint Home Depots because our paint don't fade. And, you know, they don't use Behr paint at Home Depot to paint their own buildings. They use us because our paint don't fade. And they don't want their buildings fading because they want that orange color. I go, okay, great. Great deal on selling this company. But the high pressure kind of like sign now, you get a discount. So I look at him and go, look, why can't I think about this? If you're willing to knock off $2,000 or $3,000 if I do it today, why can't you give me a quote that price is good for 30 days? Because in their commercial, we'll come out to your house, we'll do an evaluation, we'll give you a quote good for 30 days. Well, that's kind of BS because the high quote is the 30-day quote. If you have to sign now, high pressure today, no, got to do it today, then we go down, and then if you say no, the final quote is the high quote. So anyway, after all this haggling, you know, again, the guy was polite, he was professional. I'm not saying the guy's bad, I'm not saying the product's bad, I don't know the product. I'm saying their sales tactic and making you have them come out to your house and go through this spiel of 2 hours trying to connect and play all these you know, psychological games of like car dealers do to waste your time, and oh, we'll get you undercoating and underspray, and and we're going to throw in some floor mats and an extra key and you're going to get a great deal. I mean, that's what I felt like. So I didn't like the experience. The guy ended up finally, I was like, you know what, maybe I would go 17, but he called, no, I can't go 17, sorry, we can't do business. So he leaves. And I'm like, all right, well, you know, let me do some research. I'll call him. He'll probably still honor the deal. So when he left, well, if I leave we're never going to get to 17 again. We're back to the 25,000 because I just can't go down if I leave. And I'm like, what about if I call you tomorrow? Nope, it's too late. Today's the day. Again, to me, that's high pressure. That's trying to force a. If you had, in my opinion, if you have a good product and you know what it costs to do it, you average in your expenses and you average in your costs, you should be able to tell somebody for every 100 square foot, it costs about this much to apply. So depending on how much square footage you have, just for the painting, this is what it's going to cost. Now, obviously, that price may change if we have to do repairs or wood or more or change something. But this is about where. Why can't they tell you that over the phone? Why do they? Because to me, and I told them, I said, your company kind of sounds like a scam because they can't give a quote. I mean, you can come here and tell me after I spend 2 hours or 2.5 hours listening to you that you're charging this much for this square foot and your cost is this much and you can't get it any lower and maybe we can get it down to here and well, if you get a neighbor, we'll do it to here and you know, since you're a vet and if you pay cash instead of charging, we can do this and we. Man, I'm telling you, their process of selling their product, I think, is horrible. If you want to go through it, it's your call. It may be a great product, and for somebody, it may be worth 25 grand for you to paint your house or to go through this to maybe get them down to 23 grand or whatever. But for me, hey, I'm telling you, their quote, 25 grand, let me get it right, $25,000, $12.00 for supposedly 3,500 square feet of painting service. You do the math, you can figure it out. If you want to know, I couldn't find it. I'm going to post this so people know. It's your call. If you want to go through it, I didn't like the process. That's my take on it. Newspray.com. I'll put the link to their website in the video.